Good morning. With the grace and peace of Jesus Christ, I welcome you to worship at Second Presbyterian Church in Indianapolis, whether you are joining us here in the sanctuary or from around the world on live stream. You are welcome to this hour of worship. By God's grace, we gather, and by God's grace, we are sent into the world as disciples of Jesus Christ. Our message this morning continues our August sermon series on practicing the faith, and today we turn to the practice of discernment. How do we make the big decisions that shape our lives, and how can our faith be our guide through those decisions? Well, every spring, the congregation of Second Presbyterian Church, along with some gifted seminary seniors, have the opportunity to practice discernment. You've all heard me say before that the Lake Fellow residency program was one of the most important factors in my own sense of call to serve as pastor of this congregation. For 25 years now, Second has been blessed by the presence of these deeply gifted residents, and 50 residents who have served here have been blessed by the opportunities offered by this congregation. The Lake Fellow program is, without a doubt and with no bias on my part, the finest and most fruitful pastoral residency program in the country. And this morning, as we welcome them to Second Church, I'd like to invite our new Lake Fellows, Tyler Brinks and Beth Douglas, to join me here on the chancel. Both Beth and Tyler come to us most directly as 2021 graduates of Princeton Theological Seminary. You will have the chance in the weeks and months ahead to get to know them and their stories, and I know that they are eager to hear your stories as well. We are blessed, Beth and Tyler, to have you both at Second Presbyterian Church, and we look forward to walking this next stage of the journey with each of you. Join me in welcoming Tyler and Beth to Second. Speaking of celebration, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here in the sanctuary, we will host a service of celebration and installation for the Reverend Mike Sampson and the Reverend Madison Van Vielen, who are coming officially to serve us as associate pastors in engagement and care. We invite you to be a part of those services of celebration and gratitude for God's call. You can join us here in person at 3 o'clock or watch the live stream at secondchurch.org/live or on our social media accounts. Finally, early this week, I sent a message to our congregation. The message was simply a prayer, acknowledging that we are again in a time of great challenge, what feels like raging seas and persistent grief for so many, both here and around the globe. In such a time as this, we, people of faith, ask God to meet us where we are, to hold us steady, and to heal. The prayer named the catastrophe and crises, the leveling and loss, waves of worry, and that destructive divisiveness. It named relentless pain and suffering across the sweep of God's world. We have all seen it. It is both impossible and unfaithful to deny the heaviness we feel. But we are also named disciples, followers of Jesus Christ. And as such, we are called to turn not away from each other, but toward each other. We are called to be vessels of hope and faith in the midst of brokenness. And so that prayer asked God to equip us and send us as God's children into the world to model another way. In our own homes, in our city, and across our troubled world, we ask for God's light to again break through the shadows. Here in worship, we find our sustenance for the journey of faith. Here in worship, we join as one community to share the strength and courage we find in following Jesus. Jesus, who lived in the light of God's love and offered his life to set us free. And so in this time of worship, meet us here, O God, and send us. Send us seizing the promise of hope even now. Beloved, let us worship God.